You're awoken from your slumber, yet you feel as though you're not quite all there. You can't remember when or even where you fell asleep, but you know for certain you're not in the same place as you were. Sitting up, you find yourself in a large, spacious cave. It doesn't feel damp or even cold, but then again, you can't seem to feel anything at all currently. As you look up, you spot two dragons and a strange, eldritch creature eyeing you down. The trio look at you with a mix of curiosity and intrigue. Suddenly, a voice begins to speak out to you.
Hello there, and welcome to Delegations of Dreamers. We are joined here today by Rinarae Andoral. Rinarae, welcome. Welcome.
Where am I?
Here, there, a little bit everywhere. Don't worry about it.
It's just a dream, don't worry.
We're just here to ask you a few questions, get to know you a bit better.
Don't worry, it's not gonna be too painful.
Now, Rinarae, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Very roomy in here.
Well, it is a cave, so... Rinarae, why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself? For the people listening in, what about your species, age? What do you do for a living?
First of all, what are you?
Thought you could see that, but I am a drow elf.
Does every drow have a burning left arm?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that, but I also didn't want to point out something that could have been
I mean, it's. Could you turn down the fire a little bit?
No, I can't.
Rue, do you have any marshmallows?
What is a marshmallow?
I think it's.
Never mind.
I think it's made of dwarfs.
Is it like this milkshake that you told me about?
We'll get back to that.
Would you mind telling us how you've got your arm to be like that if it's not common for a drow?
Sure. It's not exactly for the faint of heart, but if you insist, you see, it didn't always used to be like this. It used to actually be all made of metal, if you believe it or not.
Sorry, your arm was made of metal?
It was devoured by a metal gauntlet.
I have more questions, but please do go on.
Yeah, it turns out this metal gauntlet might have had something really, really terrible inside of it, and my family was intending to use it for their own gains, and not very nice gains overall. So I felt it necessary to remove it from them. I was quite young and stupid back then, so I guess I thought it would give me powers or something. And well, then I let it eat my arm. Not exactly dinner table conversation topics.
So it was like a parasite.
It did help me, but not in the ways I thought it would.
How did you think it would help you, and how did it help you instead?
I knew that the moment my family found out that this artifact was stolen, they would come after me and scold me and otherwise disown me from the family. Quite a traitorous thing it would have been for them to find out. So I fled far away into the forest. I fled and didn't come back to civilization for about 10 years. Yeah, I kind of lived there in the forest. It's all quite hazy to me.
Okay.
It's all quite...
We'll get back to that in a moment, but first, what did you think?
Trust me, we have plenty of questions about your family, but let's get back to the matter of hand. The thing that's currently scorching my desk.
Does the fire hurt?
No. Quite pleasant. Can't guarantee it for anyone else, though.
Can you sleep with that fire lighting up the room?
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about how it became fire, and you mentioned that it started as a metal gauntlet that ate your arm, but how did it end up being on fire?
That's where we don't really know what the dungeon was called, but it was an old dwarven home, long abandoned. But we did hear that down there was a well that had the power to make wishes come true. And me and my companions, well, I was more following along at the time with the others' plans. I didn't quite have as much agency back then, but I followed them nonetheless. And you see, there was a mist in the forest I fled into. This mist wasn't exactly the most wholesome, quite a bit cursed, if you will. If you entered, walked 5 meters to the right, you might end up 100 meters forward. Warped back and forth kind of thing. People would get lost, get mad when we went down into this dungeon. I believe the intention of my party was to wish this mist away, to free it from this curse. I didn't know it at the time, but it seemed that this metal gauntlet was somehow connected to the mist. I think it might have created it. What was that noise?
Oh, nothing.
It sounded like a mouse. Anyways, where was I? Oh,
You
yeah.
You were at a well, which kind of seems quite the opposite of what you got going on right now.
Yeah, it was a well of water. Or at least I think it was water. When we got down there, Mordai, one of my companions, he spoke the wish, wished the mist away, and I was wretched no more. I was torn out of my head, my body, it felt like, down to a very hellish prison, and was greeted by a dragon by the name of Apex.
Oh yeah, I know Apex.
King of all dragons. You should know.
I mean, he's not king here, but
We've met the guy before, so
Okay. Well, then you know at least what sort of ballpark we're in. It turned out that I had made a deal with him before I went all nutty in the forest. So, the deal I had made with him was to kill my family.
and did you?
Some, regrettably.
sometimes murder can be the best solution.
It depends. Sometimes it just makes things worse. I killed my sister.
Ew.
Were you close?
Not anymore.
No.
If we were before, I have no memory of it.
Oh, I see.
Alright, so you went to a well to grant a wish.
Yes.
You wished the mist away.
Yes.
Then you were pulled from your body into it by the King of Dragons. Is that correct?
Yes. The mist must have blocked him in some way,
So
reaching the actual me. And as soon as the actual me returned, he could finally contact me.
alright, and I'm assuming this is still all leading up to your fire.
Yeah. Apex was the reason why it's on fire. He purged the metal gauntlet. While painful, it melted away over time.
And the fire just stayed.
And the fire stayed, and my arm came back. It was his gift to his follower, his whatever you want to call it.
Oh, was that not just the reward for killing your sister?
Not quite. The deal was to kill my family, and Apex didn't exactly take things one step at a time. He wanted the deed to be done, and he only accepted total success. And whenever I didn't want to kill my family, he would punish me.
Did you do this all alone, or did you have some companions to help you?
I had my companions, yes. I don't think they condone the murder of my family.
I wouldn't say a lot of people would. But how
No.
did you go about meeting your companions?
Before the mist was dispelled, I was hired by them. in order to lead them through the forest. I was, at the time, quite familiar with these misty forests, and with the help of this gauntlet, I wasn't exactly sure what it did back then, but it being connected to the mist definitely gave me an advantage when navigating the forests. So they needed a guide. And so I met them. Mordai, Wilda, and Ulf, and I followed them ever since.
Were they all drow like you?
Not a single one. I'm the only one. In fact, there's not many drow left on Tridine.
How come?
The history of my people is enveloped in darkness and mist. It's memory loss is kind of one of my big things. Quite annoying, actually. But what I do know is that Drow originally had a kingdom located on the island of Tridine. It reached all the way down into the Underdark, but something happened, and I'm not sure what.
Is there anyone that might?
I'm sure there are. In fact, I've probably met some people who do. Most of those people either don't want to tell me, or they just had more pressing business at the time.
All right, Rue, I see you prancing over there a little bit. Hey, what questions you gotta ask this
First,
lady?
I must know, how many people have you been with? If you get my drift.
I have an answer. It's one.
Ah.
But I'm going to start limiting myself, unless stated otherwise, to the period where I'm actually myself. Before that, very hazy memories, etc. So I'm going to limit myself. And one. If you must know.
Yes. Also, have you heard of this thing called shaken milk, or what was it? A milkshake?
Is this a euphemism?
No, it is some delicacy from some other place that I've been told about. I think it was Ashura that told me about this.
They tend to bring the boys to the yard.
I wouldn't know anything about it.
Is the drow a milk-drinking species?
Do you think we have goats or cows in the Underdark?
I've seen stranger things in the Underdark.
We've seen a lot of strange things.
Milk is not one of them.
Well, maybe if you continue to adventure, you might find somewhere that has this shaken milk. It is, from what I've been told,
shake
delicacy.
milk?
I don't think it's actually shaken. I think it's mixed up with other things, but for some reason they call it milkshake. So I just continue to call it the shaken milk, for it makes the most sense.
Isn't that how you make cheese? Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about cheese?
No, this is some kind of beverage.
You don't drink milk, but you eat cheese. So many
That's
questions.
disgusting.
I cannot drink milk. It gives me gases.
Back onto the
Shaken
subject
milk
at hand.
Sounds.
I have one more question. It's a little more serious, though. Besides familial ones, how many people have you actually killed?
I've probably killed a lot of people. And monsters. I can't tell you exactly. I don't exactly keep count. I'm sure the people who do go to Tridine start to keep count to keep themselves sane, but I haven't needed to. Not yet, anyways.
Was that the end of your group's cooperation after you after they helped you get your arm sorted out?
Oh no. In fact, it was pretty much the beginning. As I said, I got myself back. I wasn't my decrepit forest-dwelling, mist-affected, cursed being. Now I'm myself, and I could pursue my goals, which at the time was revenge on my family. And by doing so, fulfilling the bargain I had with that Apex.
You said they were going to use the metal gauntlet, but
Among
what were they
other
going to use
things,
it
yeah.
for?
That I'm not entirely sure. In fact, most of my journey has been trying to find out what even is going on this island, but smarter people than I that I trust with my life have told me that the things that are at play are not just vile, they're unnecessary. And this mist and this gauntlet is tied to a creature called the Unborn One. Might be a god, might be a god in its infancy, who knows? All we know is that it's dangerous, and we are looking to stop it. My family was involved in all of that, so pretty much whenever I meet any of my family members at this point, I try my best to talk to them before I give them the cold steel, but not all of them are as cooperative.
So right now your goal is to commit deicide, the act of killing a god.
Well, don't necessarily need to kill it, we just need to, well, imprison, shoo away, whatever you would like to say.
Oh, sure.
Have you tried whacking it with a newspaper?
I have not. In fact, it's been out of my reach for quite some time, so no, that's stupid.
That's fair. Tell us a bit about your group. Meaning the people in your group. What are they like?
Well, there's myself and three others. There is Mordai, the brains of the party, a wizard through and through, a tiefling, one horn, glowing eyes through his recently achieved ascendance, and that's to put it lightly. He's quite fond of uncovering mysteries and the like. Quite often I find myself dumbfounded by him because he's just on another plane of intelligence than anyone I've ever met, so trying to understand him is futile at best.
Sounds like an interesting character.
He might seem reclusive, but he's quite generous. I like him.
You said something about ascending.
Yes, me and my party, I will continue telling you about, have been receiving a lot of assistance from, I wouldn't exactly say gods, but godlike beings. They also see the Unborn One as a threat, not just to this world, but their establishment as well. The establishment of their own pantheon, etc. And, well, they kind of noticed that we were on the right path, or at least the path that they wanted to be on. Only we are willing to risk our lives, so they gave us some of their powers. They give us choices of what to ascend to. Mordai, my friend, took a more eldritch route. The expansion of the mind, the expansion of sight and aberrations. Me, on the other hand, I couldn't resist the powerful power of dragons, so
Oh, of course not.
technically
As
I'm a dragon.
many can't.
So you're not self-ascended, but you are ascended in some way. Interesting. I'll have to make note of that. Note to self. Think about ascending other mortals.
Just don't do it to everyone. There's a lot of stupid mortals out there.
Yes, yes, of course. Have to be selective and make sure their goals align.
I swear to God, Rue.
What? I don't have any followers yet. Yet being the operative term.
You're egotistical enough.
Well, how dare you? I'm not egotistical. Anyway, sidetracking aside, a little more about your party.
There is, I was going to say the shortest member of our team, but no longer, due to his ascension, Ulf Ironblood, dwarf through and through. Dumb as rocks, but with a heart of gold. I didn't
Literal
quite
gold?
understand. Hmm?
Did he have a gold heart?
I believe it's a figure of speech, meaning that they're very kind and generous.
Oh, I see.
Precise. He.
So he didn't even have iron blood.
That's just the name.
Oh,
It's not descriptive of any kind.
all right. Go on then.
He is simple yet endearing due to his spirit, I would say. Wiser than he's smart. And by extension, kind of makes him pretty smart in a way. I can more easily connect with him most like than Mordai. Mordai is difficult to understand sometimes.
So, what do you mean that he's not the shortest one in the party anymore since the ascension?
Well, yes, due to the ascension, he chose a more elemental path, and his elemental path was that of the earth, and he more or less ascended to a earth golem, now doubled his size.
Oh, and does he have a heart of gold now?
He probably could. He can bend metal and change materials at a whim. He's basically a demigod.
That's interesting.
Not to mention the arsenal of artifacts he uses as weapons. Or as he calls them, butter knives.
Was there someone else in the party except for Mordai and Ulf and you?
There's one more. There is the youngest in the party. There's Wilda Aravan. She's a noble like myself. Of noble blood, at least. Quite a tragic upbringing, but otherwise a sharp one. To give more context to it, her family was afflicted by something akin to lycanthropy. So for a long time she had struggles with another herself, or...
You mean she peed on the carpet?
No, that's a dog. Lycanthropes don't do that. Have you ever met a lycanthrope?
I'm thinking yapping creature that runs around indoors.
A lycanthrope is more big wolf on two legs, sometimes four, and bites your neck off.
Yes, I've met one, unfortunately. They did not act quite appropriately towards our party at the time, and we had to deal with them because they were causing trouble for people. Just
They
a little
usually do.
tragic.
Oh, you had to put it down?
Yes, well, more that we imprisoned. Hopefully there will be a cure for that one condition so that they might not go rampant. But just a little fun fact from before I came here.
I'm still thinking small japping creature.
That
Well-
sounds like more like a house pet.
If you ever meet her, please don't ever say that, because you'll have a hole in your head from the rock she'll throw at you.
I think we can hold our own.
Would be interesting.
At
No,
least
you
in
don't.
this realm.
You don't understand. She throws rocks at gods and they die.
Well, this realm has a bit more interesting quirks to it than the realm that you're from.
You'd find the rocks to be more incorporeal.
As long as you're here, at least.
Hmm.
If you plan to meet her in her own realm, just
Are
be
you
aware
still...
that I warn you.
Okay. Are you still adventuring with these characters?
Yes, of course. We're at the final sprint, you could say.
You're about to meet up with the demigod creature.
Hopefully.
What was his name?
The unborn one.
The unborn one.
Oh,
Yes.
Is there anything
Interesting.
you could tell us about this unborn one?
Well, I don't think anyone's seen it.
Well, if it's unborn, that makes sense.
It's true, but it is... Think of an infant god that doesn't know what it's doing with all of its power, and it's been unleashed on a mortal world. It's cracking the sky open, and reality is being torn apart. It's worrying when you have to fight through multiple of its followers who think it's going to save them.
It does seem rather interesting. I would rather like to visit this Trondheim sometime.
I'd rather die than
Is it-
go back to Trondheim.
Oh,
It's been exhausting.
that sounds like a pleasant place.
It's not.
Well, I wish you could stay here then, but you have to wake up at some point.
Oh, I still have unfinished business there. I simply mean as soon as I'm done there, I don't think I'll be returning there ever again.
Now, I have a few questions regarding you yourself, if I may.
Please.
How do I put this delicately? What are you after? You yourself, not the party.
On Tradhine or just in general?
In general.
I don't really have an end goal. The most important thing for me is that whatever I do end up deciding to do, it's my own decision.
Let's say this. Where do you see yourself in 10,000 years from now? Or how old do your creatures get?
I believe
elves-
1,000 is at the very edge of
All right, so
elves.
where do you see yourself in 500 years from now?
Hopefully in a mansion with my beloved Verena. Or someone else, perhaps. I mean, I don't know if she is going to live for 400 more years. But in a mansion somewhere, not having to think about tents.
How did
And
you and your beloved meet?
under circumstances most people would deem unromantic, I'm sure of it. She's a bit of a biter, if you get my meaning. She's
You kinky devil.
she's a vampire.
Ah, okay.
But yes, the other part too.
You kinky devil.
I on our way to the capital of Tradine, we had met her before, but we didn't know at the time that she was the long lost queen of Tradine, and she wasn't exactly in the best of moods when we found her. Her establishment's in ruins. All of her friends were dead, and well, she didn't really feel like she had much to live for. But I felt like it wasn't her time yet, and so I offered her the opportunity to come with us to make things right in Tradine. And I think, or I'd like to think, that she thought it sounded like a good time because I was there. At least that's what I'd like for it to be.
A personal headcanon, one could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ashura, is vampire the ones that drink milk?
No. Vampires are the ones that drink blood.
So blood
Mhm.
shakes.
That sounds
Yep.
like an interesting proposition.
I'm not sure
know-
what blood shakes bring to the yard.
Vampires.
I have been thinking a lot about a vampire dragon, but I haven't quite, gone ahead with that experiment. Because I feel like once you become a vampire, it's not exactly reversible.
Indeed. I've met a few vampires who chose to take on the mantle of vampire and regretted their decisions, so it is best to be careful.
Yeah, it's pretty much like having kids.
having kids can be great unless your wife takes them from you because
And
you're not good
then
enough.
you'll spend your life regretting it.
Oh, there's better ways to do that. I made my own kids. Literally. Like out of magic. Like not birthing, that's no.
Yes, well, I am not so lucky. My race was made 5,000 years ago, and I was one of the first. I was assigned a wife who I liked for a while, and then when I did not produce enough children with her, she left and took the children. So I don't even really know my children.
Win-win.
No, I would have liked to know them. If
That
only
sounds
so I could
awful.
treat. Yes, I would have taught them to be a little more kind than she was. But who knows? Maybe the couple that she joined will have taught them some proper manners and how to treat people.
Wife's a bit of a bitch, Rue.
Yes, ex-wife is a bit of a few choice words. But this is not about me. I was originally going to just say that take it from somebody who's lived for a very long time. The longer you live, the more boring things can get, and the more you have to look for motivation to keep going. So being a vampire, which are notoriously long-lived, is if they don't get killed first, is quite a daunting thing to think about.
The other flip of the coin is my partner is still hot after being, many 100 years old, and me being 100 years old.
You do have a fair point. If you were going to do it, now would probably be the best time.
This is true. Which is again, Vampire Dragon does have a quite an edgy, nice sound to it, but I'm just not sure if I want to take that extra step. I'll come back to you on that.
I rarely go outside when it's daytime either. So I mean that's.
We
Who
drow
likes
don't
the
do that.
sun?
Not me. I'm a drow. We live in the Underdark.
So
I
it wouldn't be much of a difference for you then.
yes, being
Minus the blood sucking.
yes.
I don't do that on a regular basis, believe it or not.
You gotta eat anyway.
I do,
Yes.
just not blood.
Well,
Speaking of the sun,
it's either blood or milk. I mean, what do you choose?
Rather blood, thank you.
We are very interested in the topic of shaken milk, it seems.
Right.
Fascinating concept.
Wasn't it what they ate in Tradheim? I have here on my notes that people in Tradheim drink milk all the time.
Who told you that?
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
you may
you
have
did.
got confused.
I think
did
we've
not.
been misled.
No, I did not.
I think you got confused by by talking about the delicacy known as shaken milk.
So-
Did you confuse my no with a yes?
That is likely.
It seems most likely, yes.
Do we have anything else to ask Rinarae before we send her on her way?
One last question. It's more of a light question, but would you say that you're fun at parties? Do you like parties?
Well, it depends on who I'm partying with. I feel like no. I probably wouldn't be to most people. But with the right people and the right amount of food and drinks, yeah, I think so.
Your world seems to be rather bleak, dark, and rather lacking on the side of hope. What has been your favorite part of your journeys?
And to be honest, whenever I get a quiet moment with my friends, it's like the family I never had. Whenever I get that quiet moment, I get to reflect on things and get to know their motivations, how they tick, how I tick, and why we even do this in the first place. It surprised me many times. And I'm sure I keep surprising them too. I've gone through a lot of changes in my life.
All right, I think with that, we'll send you on your way. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Could I
Indeed.
just ask you to say hi to Apex from me if you remember this?
Tell that old man we're still thinking.
Doesn't
of him.
exactly do it anymore because he's been chained down into his chamber and we've sort of locked him there forever and ever in eternity. So I'm gonna go with a no.
All right.
I can try to leave him a message, but other than that,
No, it sounds like he's busy.
Yeah, sounds like he has a lot to think about.
Well, we will send you on your way back to the world of the waking. I am going to go bask in the sunlight of the dream realm because, unlike you all, I'm a plant and I need sun.
Well,
that sounds like a great idea.
I wish you all
Thanks
the
for
luck
having
in
me.
Tradheim and all the milk you can drink.
Yes, do try
No,
that
thank-
shaken milk at some point.
Nope. I'm leaving. I'm exiting the door.
When did we get a door?
Well, I think it's been lying over there.
Slams door.
All right. And everyone out there listening, thank you for joining us for Delegation of Dreamers. See you next time.
We just want to give a giant thank you to Ronith Style for interviewing with us, to Stereo Radio VA for the intro, Sayed Sounds for the intro music, Azio Mecca for the character art, and Azio for our amazing logo. We deeply appreciate what you guys have done for us and putting up with all of our requests. We couldn't have done it without you. Links to their items are listed in the description. And to you, our viewer, for listening until the end and allowing us to do this for you. We will be back next Saturday with another interview. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to list them below, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the next interview. Until then, have a good awakening.